28 years ago, in this really cool looking building behind me here, the world came together for the first time on one of the most pressing issues we face today to form what is now known as the Kyoto Protocol. It was the first global agreement to take action on anthropogenic climate change, and in many ways it was way ahead of its time, acknowledging that many global north countries played a larger role in creating the issue than many global south countries, and thus they should be more responsible for leading the change. 192 different nations signed on and ratified the agreement, making changes to the way that they did things, with many reaching their targets easily and emitting less carbon. However, there was one nation, perhaps the largest and most influential of all, that didn't partake. No, I'm not talking about Russia, China, India, or Brazil. They were all on board here. I'm talking about the United States, who signed the agreement but refused to ratify it, meaning that they agreed with everything that it said, that anthropogenic climate change was a massive global issue that needed to be addressed, but they didn't want to actually do anything about it, citing potential damages to their economy as the reason at the time, which is kind of ironic now considering that climate change is estimated to cost the U.S. about $150 billion a year in damages alone from things like hurricanes, floods, and fires like the one that recently swept through LA, and it's only going to get worse. And then under influence from its naughty southern neighbor, Canada withdrew in 2012 so that it could exploit its fossil fuel reserves guilt-free and focus on its economy, while its own climate-related natural disasters have increased significantly, including the Fort McMurray fires of 2016, with annual climate costs estimated to be about $35 billion. And since then, emissions have continued to rise, and though we've made some progress with things like the Paris Agreement, sure, these big global economic powerhouses continue to pursue their own interests and not play along with the rest of the world, even as the world burns as a result of their actions. Literally. The Kyoto Protocol was an important first step in taking action on climate issues, but I can't help but sit here and wonder what could have been, when America, a global leader, chose to not partake almost 30 years ago and instead favored their own economy. It not only lost an incredible opportunity to help be proactive and shape a new, better economy of the future, but it sent a signal that it valued short-term monetary gains for the very few oligarchs who run the nation now more prominently than ever over the welfare of its own people, its communities, its children, and the future of the planet we all share. America might be the global leader in GDP, sure, but they also lead in the number of incarcerated citizens and military spending, while failing to lead in anything that actually betters society and the world, from education to healthcare to any sort of real technological innovation or even philanthropy, because all that gets in the way of making money. Why the cuss would anyone want to follow after that? So, as I sit here admiring this gorgeous building and reflecting on what came from that agreement decades ago and where we are now, I can't help but wonder that if the world around you was in flames and there was a group of hundreds of good, hardworking people scrambling to grab buckets of water and hoses and try to put out the fire, but there was one person standing by watching, kicking cigarette butts and gasoline onto the fire, would you grab a can of gas or a bucket of water? And if that one person was America, a closeted racist, bully, and arrogant misogynist, fat with gluttony, a cocky rich kid who inherited his daddy's stolen land and wealth with a massive ego that thinks they're smarter and better than everyone else, who only ever thinks about themselves and only values money, would you trust them in that situation, or would you look to all the others working to put out the fire? I don't get it.